These guys are ridiculous. These guys are ridiculous.
Now, how about them damn Celtics?
And we are back with another episode of How About Them Celtics. Sam and I are here recording on Thursday, November 10th, the night after, or the day after, I guess, the Detroit Pistons game. Celtics won. Celtics now on a 4-game win streak. I believe the last time we did a podcast was after the Knicks game, right? We haven't talked since the Grizzlies game. Or did we record after the Grizzlies game?
No, we
think
did
we've
not.
talked
We
Grizzlies
haven't had a show since Sunday.
Gotcha. All right. So, do we want to go in chronological order then, as per usual?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, we'll start with Grizzlies then. All good things for the most part these past two games. Celtics almost blew the lead, and the Grizzlies ended up winning by 3 points, I believe, 109-106. Tried their hardest to blow it with 4 missed free throws in a row down the stretch, but got the win. Jason Tatum guarded Ja Morant well. Joe Mazzulla has switched up the starting lineup to Grant Williams, but some thoughts from the Grizzlies game before we get into that.
I thought that was such a great showing. Obviously, Marcus had his best performance of the season.
Of course.
He was everywhere, came out, scored 10 points in the first quarter, had 3 assists right away, finished the game with, I think, 12 assists. And he was just so comfortable out there, passing the ball around, making tough passes. It was like he was just out there having fun. He really wasn't struggling. And over this stretch of 3 games, he's been excellent. And we'll get into last night a little further, but 33 assists or 34 assists, something like that, and only 4 turnovers. He's really finding his footing. This is a really big stretch in terms of how you should feel about his season, because leading up to the Knicks game, you really hadn't seen anything super special to Marcus Smart, especially after he had a really solid season last season, led the team to the playoffs as the point guard to the finals, and really was pretty consistent for him. Did not have a lot of games where he was just chucking, did not have a lot of games where he was turning the ball over a lot. To start this season, we saw him shooting a low percentage, felt like he was chucking a bit, playing a little bit too aggressive at times. He's really found his stride against New York, against Memphis, and now against Detroit. I'm really excited to see how he's going to continue to play going forward. Big game Friday against Denver. It's a real game, real competition. So we'll see. But as far as Monday goes, that might be my biggest takeaway. I don't really think anything jumped off the page to me. Tatum was fine. I mean, he was excellent. But
yeah,
excellent is the new fine for Tatum, who's making an MVP case for himself. So we can leave it at Marcus.
Yeah, I mean, Marcus Smart looks like, obviously last year he was a good point guard. He was the starting point guard on a finals team. But this year kind of looks like, at least over the past few games, he's taking that jump into elite point guard status, right? He's not going to be, excuse me, an all-star because he doesn't get the scoring touches. But he looks like the point guard that a lot of people, I think, were envisioning last year when Ime Udoka named him the starting point guard. Like when you think of a point guard, you think of, dishing out a ton of assists, pass first guy. And while Marcus did that to an extent last year, I think he's expanded upon the role. Like right now, there are only 4 players averaging 7 assists and less than 2 turnovers. Marcus Smart is one of them, and the others are Mike Conley, Fred VanVleet, and Chris Paul. Like as much as you want to clown on the Mike Conley thing, like all 3 have been all-stars. All 3 are top-notch point guards, at least in their prime. Fred VanVleet's won a title. Chris Paul has been heralded as one of the best point guards ever. Marcus Smart has put himself in elite company. He's not turning the ball over. He's not making a ton of stupid mistakes. I mean, every once in a while, you'll see that sort of behind the back thing. I think it was against the Grizzlies where he just tries to find a pass and it's just clearly not there. And that happens. And if you want to nitpick and just focus on those mistakes, then, I mean, more power to you. I guess your mind is never going to be convinced on Marcus. But this 3-game stretch from him is kind of the role I think a lot of people have wanted to see out of Marcus Smart when they think of a point guard. Which it's been great to see, and it's opened up a lot for Jason Tatum. It's opened up a lot for Jaylen Brown, the shooters, Sam Hauser, Derek White, Grant Williams. This is the reason he is still a starter, and Malcolm Brogdon hasn't taken that role from him, which I think a lot of people were maybe pushing for when he struggled out the gates. But yeah, Marcus Smart's been phenomenal over the last 3 games. You can't really ask for much more than him. And 3-point shots not exactly there. It's hot and cold, I suppose, but he's never going to be a great 3-point shooter. If he hovers around 30%, I'll be grateful. But where he is actually excelling, I'm sure you've noticed this too, he bangs down low. Marcus Smart in the post is a bucket most of the time, which is great.
This has always been a thing, though. He's always been reliable to get you some points out of the
Yeah.
post. He's bigger than most guards. He's strong. Obviously, we always talk about how he can guard all the positions, but he can obviously bang down low, like you said, Jack. And he's money on the turnarounds. Doesn't feel like he misses a lot of shots down there. So
For sure.
it's definitely a good option to have late in the game where traditionally before this season, the Celtics had struggled in clutch games. This season, much better. I believe they're 5-2, if I'm not mistaken. Could be, obviously not Marcus, but Tatum has been really great in the fourth quarter, especially you want to pinpoint a game. Look at the Knicks game. He was super confident, took over. To me, that was one of the best fourth quarters he's played in a really long time, to where I believed every shot he was going to take was going to be a good one and it would drop. And his ability this season to get to the line, Tatum, has set him apart from most players in the league. He is really a superstar now. He is a player that you can rely on to get your team the win. I've definitely felt differently about that in the past. There have been examples of him leading the team to a win. Look at Game 6 against the Bucks last season.
Yep.
But in terms of like doing it consistently and being reliable and the shots that he's getting being good shots rather than tough followays or tough sidestep threes that he's able to make, he's shooting 9 free throws a game. I'm muted.
You did for a sec. You cut out for like half a second. It was not bad at all though.
Hit the wire. This is unbelievable with the mic. But anyways,
Yeah.
his game is much easier to watch. He's getting to the free throw line, and he's in the top 5 the last time I checked of free throw attempts per game. Elite company. Luka, Kevin Durant, Trae Young, Giannis is who he's behind. So
Yeah, very elite company. Sam hit the nail on the head. It's Embiid, not Trae Young, but Trae Young is up there. Tatum's getting the line 8.7 times a game, making 87.5 of those, which if you want to see it above 90, I understand, but 87.5 is a good percentage. As far as the clutch, so far this year, the Celtics in the clutch are 5-2, like you said, Sam. They've been great in those games. Jason Tatum averaging, excuse me, I believe 4 points a game, 53% shooting from the field, 40% from three, and a rebound. Marcus Smart averaging 1.6 points, 50% shooting from the field. He's taking 0.3 threes a game, which is half the amount, not a lot at all. So he's playing really well. And averaging 0.6 assists, which doesn't sound like a lot in the clutch, but it's the team high on the Celtics, so he's dishing the ball out well. But the real thing that matters with this is 5-2 in the clutch. Last year, the Celtics, who were the 2 seed in the Eastern Conference, and went to the NBA Finals, they were 13-22 in the clutch. They were the second worst team in the clutch in the entire league. The only team that was worse than them was the Indiana Pacers. And this year, they're already 5-2. You hear Marcus Smart talking about how the reason we're playing so well is how we're responding, how we're playing down the stretch. And that couldn't be more true. The Celtics have learned how to win this year. And that kind of, it sounded like a funny quote when Missoula said it, because, how do you have to learn how to win? This is what he means. They're winning the close games, and it might not always be pretty. Obviously, you want the Celtics to stomp on the necks of their opponents. But I'd rather this than what we saw last year. So credit where it's due. They're doing a lot better job of finishing out games this year, which is it's very nice after a lot of stressful endings last season. Enjoy.
Yeah, I agree. I'm the king of like not believing in the team down the stretch. That's why I'll bet against them when
hard to blame you. Hard to blame you after
I didn't do it yesterday because the Pistons were just playing so bad. I had no reason to do it. I was like, yeah, they're just real bad. And I was wrong about them before the season. Not to say that they can't turn it around, but so far they've not been great. Great.
Let's just jump to the Pistons game. The Pistons were terrible.
Yeah.
They looked so bad. And the Celtics get some credit because I thought the defense looked pretty good. They were defending well. The offense obviously looked clean. But the Pistons were just missing easy looks. And the Celtics got killed on the offensive glass in the first quarter and the second quarter. I meant first half. Malcolm Brogdon had a bunch of dumb turnovers in the first half as well. Pistons just couldn't make shots. At one point, I think they were shooting like 16% from the field, and that was like 8 minutes into the game. Like it was really, really bad. But the Celtics, again, credit where it's due. They played well. Final score of that game, let me just look it up because I forget off the top of my head. Something like 128-112. They killed them, and by the end of the game, it seemed like they should be winning than way more than that too. So it was a closer game than it should have been throughout, but the Celtics turned it on in the end, and big win for them against the Pistons in the sense of points, not in the sense of it was impressive because it's again Pistons were bad, but
I was
they got the
somewhat
win regardless.
impressed. And I'll tell you
Really?
why. I was impressed because they never really took their foot off the gas, with the exception of like right after the half. I
Yeah,
believe Detroit got it to 4. But after that, they
they
really
got it close.
never let up. They continued to pour it on. You had Grant Williams complaining about fouls, down 20 or up 20 points at the end of the game. Everybody
Yeah,
really played well. Hauser was great, which we can get into. Tatum again, great. Brown also had 30 points, the two of them. Marcus Smart with 10 assists. Even Al Horford was really good. I think he was like 6 of 6 from the field. Made all of his, obviously being 6 for 6, he made all of his shots, Sam. But he looked good in the paint, like he was making hook shots that we haven't seen him really make consistently. He was making good moves to the basket. The last couple games, he's really been good at getting to the basket. He's shying away from the only shooting threes deal because defenses are starting to say, hey, he's only shooting threes, and he's taking advantage of it.
I tweeted this out. Yeah, he looks like he's 27. He's like, and you saw it in the Pistons game. He ran the floor. Do you see him sprint in transition and get an easy bucket? Like
Yeah,
Al
nice
Horford
layup.
looks. Yeah, he looks real good, and he's whenever he gets a smaller guy on him, he kind of reverts to that right side of the basket hook shot around the defender, and it's been money. So credit to Al Horford. He hasn't been shooting the three as well this year, so maybe that's why he's turning away. But the Celtics, I guess, don't really need him to be as much of a shooter this year anymore because they have so many other shooters. So I agree. Horford looks great this year. It's nice to see. Let me ask you this though, Sam. We'll just get right into it because it's been the story over the past few days, and we just had a TikTok go. I don't want to say viral. It had like over 1,700 views, which is good for our TikTok. If you're not following, follow us on TikTok at How About Them C's. But the fourth leading scorer on the Celtics per 36 minutes is Sam Hauser.
Yeah, that's
Like
not surprising. I mean,
it's
this
crazy.
season, the guy has not averaged that many minutes. What is it? Maybe like 12, 13, maybe up to 15.
It's up a little bit. It's 14-6 right now for Sam Hauser
14-6. Yeah.
minutes.
I know against Detroit, he played like 28 minutes, something close to that. Like he actually played like a real
32.
rotation. Yeah.
Yeah,
He
he got
played
up
like an
there.
actual bulk of minutes and scored 24 points. The Celtics have won 4 games in a row at the time of us recording this. Over that stretch, Sam Hauser has taken about 3 more shots per game than he has on average this season. He's also up like 5 points scoring. His usage rate, I don't know what the percentage is, but those stats will tell you it's up. They're giving him more opportunity. He's thriving. He's still shooting over 50% from 3, and the team is winning. That's an extra scoring punch you have off the bench to go with Brogdon that's going to be able to get you probably at least 10 points a game if you give him enough shots. He's reliable. Joe Mazzulla yesterday, I know this has been going all around Twitter. They were like, hey, how come you're running all these sets for him and you're giving him all these shots? And he said, well, he's not missing.
Yeah.
And it's true. He really, like, every time he shoots the ball, I've said it on here, Jack, you've said it, you think it's going in.
Mm-hmm.
He airballed yesterday. I mean, don't count on that ever again.
I think he got fouled. I think he got. There's no shot Sam Hauser airballed. We can review the tape,
Well,
but I don't
let's not
believe that
review
he
the
get
tape because that
airballed.
sucks for like listening people.
Yeah, the
But
audio, but
I'm sorry if you're missing a shot that bad because you're getting fouled, you shouldn't be taking it. It was, and that shot was not the guy closed out recklessly shot. It was he was really covered well and put it up anyway. I wish officials would use that. Here we are. We're talking about a positive thing, and here I am complaining about the 3-point foul shots, or foul calls. But it's a problem to me. But back to Hauser. Truly a fantastic signing by Brad Stevens. He is under contract for 3 seasons. He will only be getting paid $5 million.
he is
Unfortunate for
going to
him.
get a
Fortunate
bag
for the
after that, though.
Celtics.
He's going to get a bag after this contract is up.
Yeah.
And rightfully
But
so.
that's
Deservedly
not for
so.
3 years. So
Hopefully the Celtics are the one to give it to him too, because they really haven't had a knockdown shooter like this. Grant Williams last year, yes, but I'm talking just a pure knockdown shooter. Like, I love Grant Williams. Sam Hauser is a better shooter than Grant Williams. Like, he's the best shooter the Celtics have had. Is it egregious of me to say Sam Hauser is the best shooter the Celtics have had since Ray Allen? Is that egregious? Is that ridiculous of me to say?
uh
Like, pure
think.
shooter. I'm trying to, because like when it comes out of my mouth, that sounds absolutely ridiculous, and it sounds like I should be cast away from covering the Celtics. But like realistically speaking, when was the last time the Celtics had a shooter this good outside of Ray Allen? Right?
Yeah, I
Like
really don't
Tatum,
know.
sure, but he's not like a shooter. Like I'm talking pure shooter. Pritchard 2 years ago, I guess, if you want to count, but like I'd take this Hauser over that Pritchard. And of course, I don't think he's
It's
going to
a
shoot
fair
50% for the
question, though.
season.
In all seriousness, like, it sounds ridiculous when you compare the two names, but I went to the game last Friday with Timmy G, Banner Banter podcast. We've had him on before, you know him,
Legend.
and he's a great guy. Obviously, he's close with Jack and I. He'll take us with him to games, and he's very friendly with us. But we were talking at the
Mhm.
game, and he says he really opened my eyes with this. He said, if Sam Hauser's out on the floor,
Yeah.
he needs to be the first or second option to score because that's really what you have him out there for, is to shoot. And we were talking about it. And I was like, you're really right. And he's such a good shooter that if this was like 10 years ago, he would be a star player by himself. He could be an all-star solely because of how valuable a shooter like that would have been. Ray Allen was a star player because he was such a great shooter. He could do other things too. He obviously had much more to his game than that. But just look at like a Klay Thompson and how valuable he's been to the Warriors from being a knockdown shooter. He doesn't really dribble. He had that
Mhm.
massive game where he only dribbled like 11 times. He had like, what, 60 points? Do you remember what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Yeah. He
Yeah.
dribbled 11 times. He had 37 points in a quarter.
Yeah. He
Like
dribbled like 11 times.
ridiculous.
There are significant roles for players like Sam Hauser that can shoot at such
Mhm.
a high clip. It's just that everyone can shoot now that it kind of gets swept under the rug. It's just like, okay, well, this is what he's supposed to do. He's off the bench. That's his only job, is to
Yeah.
shoot.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's not really enough good things you can say about Hauser. Sam Hauser actually technically airballed two threes the other night. One was end of the shot clock, heavily contested, probably got blocked. And the one I think you're thinking of was at the very end of the game. Corey Joseph just got a good contest off and he missed. I mean, Sam Hauser was hot at that point. It is what it is. But circling all the way back to what you were talking about, over the last 4 games, Celtics are 4-0. Sam Hauser is playing 20.5 minutes a night, just over 20 minutes, averaging 13.5 points, shooting 6.5 threes a game, and shooting almost 54% from three. He has been absolutely incredible. Arguably third, fourth best player on the Celtics, right? And it's crazy to think about that because on paper, he's probably what, the eighth best player on the Celtics. Like he's way down there, but he has been a top scoring option. He's their fourth leading scorer over this win streak. Malcolm Brogdon just edges him out by half a point. He's playing, let's see, he's playing the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, eighth most minutes and is averaging the fourth amount of points. Like he has been ridiculous. And it's weird for me to talk about it like the Ray Allen thing, like out of my mouth. That sounded ridiculous, right? But over the years, like ever since we've hosted this podcast, you and I have been begging for the Celtics just to have like just go-to shooters. Like we were talking about Duncan Robinson this summer, saying like, oh, maybe they'll fit him into the TPE, and he can play the role. Sam Hauser is playing the role Duncan Robinson would have for the Celtics had they traded for him. And he's playing pretty good defense too. Like we keep talking about it. Sam Hauser's playing good defense. And last night against the Pistons, he was cutting to the basket well too. Like he got found on a couple
Yeah, he
cuts,
had
was
like
getting easy looks.
at least 4 points in the paint. Might have more than that.
They forgot about him. Like I tweeted out, how did the Pistons forget about Sam Hauser on like 3 possessions in a row, especially when one of them was a pull up 3 from behind the line. But over those 4 games, Sam Hauser's usage rate is at 17% over the last 4 games for the Celtics. That ranks 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the team, but Pritchard and Griffin are above him on that list, and that's because they've been in garbage time. The only regular rotational minutes players with a higher usage rate than Sam Hauser over the Celtics last 4 games: Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Malcolm Brogdon. And then it's Sam Hauser at 17%. He has a higher usage rate than Marcus Smart, higher than Derek White, higher than Al Horford, higher than Grant Williams. He is doing everything. He's
Yeah, the guy's a star.
amazing. He's a star. He's elite. It's
He's so
crazy.
good at shooting that he can literally do nothing else and be good enough to be on the floor. He's
Mhm.
shooting over 50% from three. He's like 5th, 6th in the league maybe in 3-point percentage. This is unheard
Yeah.
of. It's also crazy that there's like 5 guys ahead of him. around the
Yeah.
league.
Yeah, I'll tell you right now. I'll check the 3-point leaders based on Basketball Reference because they eliminate the non-qualifiers. He is sixth in
Yeah.
3-point percentage right now with 45 threes. Only one player above him has taken more threes, and that's Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, who is shooting 54.3%. He shot one more and made one more. So KCP is 25 for 46. Hauser is 24 for 45. Right, so it's it's pretty even. Other players above him include Josh Green, who's taken 17 and made 10. Kelly Olynyk, who's taken 37, made 21. You don't want Nabe's taken 22, made 12. Brandon Ingram's taken 24 and made 13, but he's only played in 7 of New Orleans games so far because of injury. So, yeah, Sam Hauser's great. And I've seen a lot of people saying the Celtics should start him. Start him over Grant Williams, start him over Derek White, put him next to
I don't think
Smart,
it makes
Jason Tatum,
sense.
Brown, and Al Horford. I actually don't hate it. I don't hate the idea. I think he's meshed really well with the starters. I think let's talk about this in tandem with that. Grant Williams has been starting the last 2 games, and I understand it. And Joe Mazzulla talked about it. I think a big part of it was Grant Williams' defense because you saw him guard Ja Morant a lot in that Grizzlies game. You saw him guard Cade Cunningham a lot in the Pistons game. And someone tweeted this out too, and you can only assume he's going to guard Jokic for a good amount tomorrow too, as the Joker. Of
Are you
course,
excited?
Batman. I'm going to be there. I'm very excited.
I'll be there too.
But
Tim by himself for the pregame. If you listen
poor
to
guy.
this and you listen to the pregame, do not expect a pregame.
I'll give you a 30% chance there'll be a pregame. I couldn't do it against the Pistons. I couldn't be there on the stream because there were people right next to me and up on the 9th floor. But we'll see if I get an open
Did you
spot.
enjoy the stream yesterday, Jack?
It was fun. I tried to catch most of it. I was kind of
I enjoyed
bouncing around a little bit, but
I
it
liked
was
having
fun.
you in the comments trying to troll, and then I was just treating you like a dick. I was like, "Oh, he's too big for us now."
Yeah, no, I was bouncing around trying to get set up. Yeah, Grant Williams in the starting lineup, I think, has been good on defense, but you've said this a bunch of times. He just doesn't play the same on offense when he's in the starting lineup. He didn't take a shot against the Grizzlies, and even against the Pistons, he seemed hesitant. Like I remember, I tweeted out a bunch of times, like he got called for a travel once. I forget which game it was in. And I said this was just the ref's message to just shoot the ball. Like stop pump faking, Grant. Like I understand you can do stuff off the dribble, and I think it's very useful. But sometimes you just gotta shoot. Like he looks weirdly hesitant to shoot the ball lately, and I don't like it.
Yeah, well, that's part of the reason I don't want Hauser in the starting lineup because if you're a player like Grant
See, I
Williams
don't
or
think it'd
Sam
be the
Hauser,
same though.
it might not be the same. But if you're a player like them and you're a role player and really the only thing you do is shoot, it's a little different. But Grant kind of does everything. So he
Yes.
thinks to himself, I'm on the floor with Jason Tatum. I'm on the floor with Jaylen Brown. I shouldn't be taking as many shots because the shots should go to them, which is a fair way to think, but it's also tough to think like that if you're in the NBA. However, that's one of the reasons I don't want Sam Hauser to start. Not because he'll think like that, but because the plays, the sets, they won't go to him. It'll be wasteful to have him out there with the starters. I think it's more important to have him come in off the bench. So when
Okay.
you lose Jason Tatum creating for other guys or you lose Jaylen Brown's scoring punch, you bring in Hauser with Brogdon, who, by the way, looked to have a nice chemistry throughout the early parts of this season, to play and score for your bench. You're getting massive amounts of production from your bench. You don't want to screw with that. I think it makes the most sense to start Derek White because he really isn't giving you scoring regardless. And if he does, he's driving to the basket and he's able to dish. He has vision enough to dish. So he's able to feed the stars off a drive, Brown, Tatum, even Al Horford if he's out on even Marcus. I mean, any of them, they can all shoot. We all know they can do it. Some you have more faith in than others. It makes the most sense for White for me. I don't hate that he comes off the bench, but it just makes it tougher on Grant. And I think you get less out of Grant. And I don't think it makes sense to start Hauser. You're just kind of wasting him away out there.
I understand that, and that makes sense. I like having the extra scoring when one of the Jays is off the floor because, like you said earlier, he really needs to be a top 2 scoring option when he is on the court. And I understand the value of the Grant Williams in the starting lineup because he is more versatile, I would say, than Derek White on defense. That's not a knock on Derek White. It's just Grant's bigger, and he is quick enough to guard the guards, which I do want to look at his stats against Morant and Cade here in a sec. But I don't know. It's weird for me because I think both starting lineups are good. I think Derek White in the starting lineup is oddly enough probably a little bit better for your offense. Just because he can handle the ball, he can shoot still. But I think Grant Williams provides more on defense. And I have a stat here, and it's a very nitpicky one since we haven't really played a bunch. But of lineups who have played at least 5 minutes together so far this season, of which there are, I don't know how many there are. There's not a lot. Of Oh, says exactly 5 minutes, but of lineups that have played exactly 5 minutes, at least 5 minutes, one of the best is Hauser with the starting group. The offensive rating is off the charts. It's been phenomenal. The defense isn't there, but Hauser's name
What is
is
the sample size?
pretty
How many
close.
total minutes?
5 minutes at least played together. So they've played 5 minutes, which again, I know it's not a lot, but considering the season,
Have they played 5 minutes, or have they played at least 5 minutes?
All of these teams that I'm looking at, they are second of lineups on the Celtics who have played at least 5 minutes together.
So how
You
many
understand
total
me?
minutes does the lineup play? Does it say, or is it, all
They
you
have
know is
played
they played
5 minutes. They have played
That's
exactly
it.
5 minutes.
Okay, all right.
Like I said, the sample size is small, but they've been amazing on offense, and it's not hard to imagine. And Sam Hauser is in a few of these lineups, at least. The offense. The point is, the offense with Sam Hauser on the floor is elite because dude doesn't miss. As
Yeah,
Joe
he's a free safety
Mazzulla
valve.
alluded
He's
to.
like Rob, except from 3. If you get him the ball and he's
Yeah.
remotely open, it should go in. And they all believe in him too. That's a big part of it. You always hear people talk about, oh wow, like Hauser's the best guy I've ever seen shoot an open gym. If you're playing with that guy, you're not afraid to give the ball to him. It makes it easier on you as the star, as the driver, to give it up when the defense collapses. And it makes it harder on the defense because now they know. They're like, this guy's shooting 53, 54% from 3. You can't leave him. And he's starting to take advantage of that. He had a drive against the Pistons where he made a floater. He had a cut where he made a layup. Like, they were finding him, and he's not just scoring from the 3-point line. He's really starting to adjust. That's one of the great things about Grant Williams so far this year, that he's started to drive the closeout. If Hauser can master that, we've seen he's got it in his game a little bit. He can be really dangerous, and he can be someone that gets paid.
Yeah, for sure. And I think he will get paid. And circling back quickly to Grant Williams, the defensive versatility he brings to the starting lineup. I'm going to read you the top 10 players he's defended this year in terms of how long he's guarded them, like how many minutes he's guarded that player on the court. Jared Allen is number 1. Jimmy Butler, Wendell Carter, Ja Morant, Paolo Banchero, Joel Embiid, Cade Cunningham, Zach LaVine, Brandon Clark, Kevin Love. You're talking about All-NBA point guard Ja Morant, MVP candidate Joel Embiid, All-Star wing Jimmy Butler, All-Star big man Jared Allen, young up-and-coming point guard Cade Cunningham, All-Star Zach LaVine. Like, he is literally guarding every single position, and doing a bang-up job of it too. Like, the only guy who's really dominated him is Jimmy Butler, who shot 4 for 5, and whatever. Celtics won that game anyways. Like, everything else has been either holding them to a very small amount of shots or having them shoot 1 of 3, 1 of 4 from the floor when he guards them. So Grant Williams has done a great job on defense. It's not hard to see why Mazzulla wants him in the starting lineup because of that. That's what he brings in. If I had to guess, I'll probably go with that against the Nuggets too, because they do run a little bit bigger with Michael Porter Jr. And Aaron Gordon alongside Jokic, but we'll see. But another before we wrap up the Sam Hauser talk, do you know where the Celtics got him from? A little tit for tat, I suppose. A team on draft night picked him up and then said never mind and picked up somebody else. So the Celtics got him. Do you know who that team was?
Oh, I don't know. It wasn't the Lakers, was it?
No, it was the Miami Heat.
So that
So
was my next guess, because I saw people like talking shit about Riley and
yeah,
Hauser and saying they were going to get him, and then they were like, oh, never mind. So yeah, it makes sense.
little, you can rag on the Celtics for letting the Heat get Max Strus, but hey, they stole Sam Hauser. So there you go. Little 1 for 1. And at this point, you'd probably rather have Strus a little bit, but Sam Hauser is entering that conversation and quickly. He's up to 7.9 points per game flat, not per 36, not anything, almost 8 points a night in 15 minutes, which is ridiculous. he's playing very well. But another thing I did want to talk about was Peyton Pritchard, because he got some of those minutes against the actually before Pritchard, I'll talk about why we're talking about Pritchard. Malcolm Brogdon is out against the Nuggets. You'll be hearing this the morning of the Nuggets game. Right hamstring tightness. I don't think it's anything that's a big deal. Joe Mazzulla said after
He's
the game
out?
that he's not playing against Denver. Malcolm is out.
Ooh, is that out yet?
Yeah, it's Celtics on Twitter. They tweeted out the injury report.
Did they just do it?
No, it was like an hour ago. Hitting Sam with the breaking news. He's not too
The
happy
hell?
on the YouTube. But Missoula said that they were evaluating after the game, and yeah, they announced today he won't be playing. I can't imagine it's anything too serious, because if it was, I think it'd be a little more than just tightness. Not the end of the world. It sucks not to have him against a good 8-3 Nuggets team, but in turn, Peyton Pritchard will probably get more minutes. He didn't look great against the Pistons, but it is hard to immediately get in a rhythm when you haven't been getting much playing time anyway.
Yep.
So it'll be nice to have him in the rotation, but it does stink, as I can see Sam wipe his face because he's not happy that Malcolm Brogdon is out. What do you make of the whole situation?
Great.
Obviously, you can talk about Brogdon a little bit, but I don't think it's that serious. And then Pritchard as well.
Yeah, I mean, what are you going to do? I think you're better off having a muscle injury than any kind of bone injury. So there you go.
Yeah.
There's my answer to that. What are you going to do? It's November. You miss a game. It sucks because I'm going, you're
And
going.
not to cut you off, I'll say this, though. This is part of the reason why I think a lot of people were saying don't trade Pritchard, because Malcolm Brogdon hasn't played a full season in a while. Neither is Marcus Smart. This is why you have Pritchard, so he can be that sort of handcuff.
Oh, it's fair. It's very fair. It's a fair argument. I wrote about Pritchard yesterday or the day before. I don't know. It came out yesterday. And I was talking about, hey, like if you want to get rid of him, it's not a bad idea to get rid of him, because it's kind of not fair to have him sitting around wasting his career away, because he's better than that. He's a better player than somebody that should be not playing and sitting and getting DNPs. And I was like, hey, like, look at these two options. I was like, you could trade for Naz Reid, who's not seeing as much time this year because they have Gobert and Towns. They don't have to put him out there as much. And also Mo Bamba is someone that you could trade for because, again, Orlando has Wendell Carter, and Bol Bol's really kind of stepped up to where they don't need Mo Bamba. And you could match the salary for Bamba with Gallinari, and Reed makes enough where you don't have to match. It's fine. It's the same money. But anyways, sending Pritchard to either of those teams gets Pritchard a chance to make himself an established player again, get in a rhythm, start to get hot, and really thrive. He's not getting on the Celtics. However, I did mention the reason to keep him around is injury insurance. And here you are, Brogdon out with hamstring tightness. Pritchard's going to get some run. Good for him. Happy for him. I always liked Pritchard. I still think he's a quality player. It just sucks. Like there's no justifying giving him minutes over any of the guys, really, unless they're really playing bad or they're hurt. And we're going to get to see him get some run tomorrow against Denver. It's good because he's reliable to shoot. He can create a little bit, but he's not like Brogdon where he can defend and is more consistent creating and finding guys. I felt like yesterday against the Pistons, he was very much tunnel vision, which is going to happen when you don't ever play. I hope in a game against a better team in Denver, it's a little different. I hope it's more distribute, catch and shoot. If he's even dribbling the ball, distribute.
Yeah, and I think you also have to consider he was just in garbage time at that point against Pistons. Like he didn't have to like play within a rhythm, play with a bunch of guys. Like he was most.
It was somewhat close when he first checked in. It was still like the game wasn't over. There was still enough time where it could be a collapse.
I guess, but I don't think he was going crazy and taking all the shots and handling the ball by himself until it was pretty handedly the Celtics game to lose. I didn't have a real problem with him. I just think he wasn't really ready, or he was just cold, I guess. What else we got here? Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, obviously dropping 30 apiece against the Pistons as well. Both of them look great. We can circle back to the Grizzlies game a little bit, because before that game on the pregame show, we were talking about how Jaylen Brown looked a little bit like a lot of people were saying, "Oh, I wonder why he looks bad." He didn't look good against the Grizzlies. He was bad. That was not a good Jaylen Brown game. And I think the trend you're seeing is he doesn't really pass in the first quarter. Like Jaylen Brown just doesn't, like his A button broke, or his X button, or if you play on PS4. Jaylen Brown in the first quarter does not pass the ball. It's just right. Like, am I wrong?
No, you're absolutely right. And it's always the tradition or mindset for Brown to go out there and try and get going early. Usually he's pretty good at it. First quarter, Jalen's a thing. He's in the playoffs, did it. In the finals, he did it. He did it to start the season. He's just usually really good to start games. When he struggles, definitely hurts him, hurts the team. It's tough to trust him. I mean, I think it was against Chicago. He wasn't really good either. I'm trying to think.
No one was good against Chicago, so probably.
But Memphis was really a bad showing. You're absolutely right, because he just continued to force throughout the game. That game wasn't a blowout. It was close.
No.
There were
Yeah.
times he was driving, bowling through guys, getting charges called. He slapped Morant on the drive in the face, which, I mean, slap is an overstatement, but his arm hit him. So there you
Mhm.
go. And there just wasn't the passiveness that you need when you adjust to playing poorly. It was just
Yeah.
be aggressive, be aggressive, be aggressive. And I understand you want to keep the mindset that you're confident, that you still think your next shot's going to drop. But when you play on a team with Jason Tatum and a Marcus Smart that's playing well and Al Horford and all these other guys that are so talented, I really don't love seeing somebody, any of them, I don't care who it is, if they're having a bad night, not defer to the other guys.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I mean, the stats back it up. The passes made per game is a stat. Jason Tatum is at 44.5. Marcus Smart's at 44. Al Horford at 39.9. Malcolm Brogdon at 35.7. Jaylen Brown is fifth on the list at 34.3 a game. But he is also third on the list in passes received. And I bet if I looked at touches, tracking total touches per game, Jaylen Brown would probably be pretty high on that list as well. He's getting 62 touches per game, which I can only imagine ranks second on the team. So to rank second in touches at 62, which I'm pretty sure is like top 25 in the league as well, and fifth on your team in passes made, pretty good indication. I'm 90% sure, I don't have the stat in front of me, that he's attempting more shots than Jaylen this season, than Jason. I mean, yep, that's true. He's averaging more shots than Jason Tatum, which fine. I don't have a problem with it because it's very minimal. But that just shows you Jason Tatum is much more comfortable than Jaylen Brown as a distributor. And I don't know if that's going to change. Or they're averaging almost exactly the same amount, actually. Wow. Jason Tatum is 20.1. Jaylen Brown is 19.9. So you're getting to nitpicking there. But I don't know. I think a lot of the playoffs last year, you wanted Jaylen Brown, to be a better distributor. And you never really saw it. And we haven't really seen it this year either.
No, he's not a better distributor, but he definitely is a better playmaker, or not playmaker. That's the wrong thing. Ball handler. He's not
Yes.
getting stripped as much. It doesn't seem like he's turning the ball over. A lot of the times he is getting himself to the basket and he's finishing. That Memphis game was just a bad night. Like, what are you going to do? Some days
He
you're
does
just gonna
lead
be
the
off.
team in turnovers, though. So
Well, that's
have that.
fine, but it's not as noticeable and it's not as timely. You're not seeing him drive into 5 or 4 people and lose the ball. You're not seeing him not get to his spots. Like, it seems like he's just getting where he wants to go. The Memphis game was a poor showing. He bounced back really well against Detroit at 30 points. Shot pretty decent. Like, he wasn't forcing. It wasn't noticeable. The Memphis game is just really the only game where I've noticed him forcing. Other people have complained about him. That's why we were talking about it before the game. But for me, I didn't notice till Monday, and I was like, oh boy, this was real bad. And he almost cost him the game. And he bounced back. I'm looking forward to seeing tomorrow's game against Denver. I want to see him continue to play well, take good shots, be careful with the basketball, and just get to the rim. He's been so great at getting to the rim.
Yeah.
Since through the preseason. It was the first thing I noticed. I was like, oh my gosh, he's really just getting easy looks, and he's really always been great at finishing. Tatum is kind of the opposite, where he'll get to the rim, but he'll just throw it off the backboard or whatever.
He's been a lot better this year, though.
He has been a lot better.
He's been a
Used the
lot
left
better.
yesterday and missed. I did notice that.
Yes.
I don't know if you caught that, but he tried to like do a floater with his left over some contest. I forget who it was, and did not even hit the rim. Not that it was an easy shot, but did not hit the rim.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think he's worked on. I wrote about it earlier this season. I think the floater has been huge for him. He's playing better through contact, which is great. And the cuts have been huge for Jason Tatum. Marcus Smart finding him off the cut a lot in the first quarter. He cuts a lot in the first quarter, getting easy looks to start the game, which is huge. Something else I want to talk about. It's going to be the last thing we talk about, I guess. I think the defense has really started to show up lately, too. Over their last 5 games, the Celtics are one of the better defensive teams in the league. They're not like they're not anywhere near, the top 3. They were the number 1 last year, obviously, but over the last 4 games, the Celtics are undefeated, and they have let's check it out, 16th in the defensive rating, which doesn't sound good, but considering they were 26th or something about 2 weeks ago, it's getting up there, and that's the important part.
Are they 16th over those 4 games, or are they 16th overall now? They've climbed.
No, 16th over those 4 games.
Oh, it's no
overall. No, it's not great. But overall this season, they are, I'll do a quick check for you, 21st, which not good again, but it shows you that they're climbing. And I've noticed them getting better. They look more engaged on that end. Jason Tatum has been a block machine this year. Marcus Smart's locking in. They've started to figure out the pick and roll defense. I just think the biggest issue for them still just the rebounding. They don't rebound the ball well. Jason Tatum finished with 1 rebound against the Pistons last night, which again, it was overshadowed because he played a better all-around game, dropped 30 points, 5 assists, fine. But they got killed on the offensive glass in the first half. You need Tatum and Brown hitting.
I was going to
hitting
jump
the
in and
boards.
say the same thing.
Yeah,
Got murdered on the offensive glass. How are you only going to have 1 rebound as the star player who's, by the way, been really solid on the glass so far this season? How is that the game where you're not getting in on it? And it doesn't make it easy on your defense that kind of struggles when you can't finish off the possession with a rebound. I will say, I don't know how much it contributes to the rating because I really don't know how it's calculated, but I would imagine that they are having to defend more because they score so much. They play it somewhat of a pace where the other team is getting more chances to score.
Yeah, sorry. I don't know how to read that in the stats, but I can tell you that.
I don't either.
They are allowing,
which is why I was like, I don't know anything about this.
They are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They allow the 10th most shots per game. So they allow 90.2 shots per game. They give up their offensive rebounding stats aren't actually that bad. They give up 10.3 per game, which is like 15th. It's like very middle of the pack. So it's not as bad as you might think. But they do give up 22nd. They're 22nd in opponent rebounds, which means they give up the 8th most. So they give up a lot of shots. But in terms of opponent field goal percentage, they're also middle of the pack, 15th exactly, 46%. So it's very much just they give up more shots per game than than other teams do, at least.
The offense is just so high powered that they've been able to get away with it, which is good.
Yeah.
And the shot quality from the offense is good. The 3-point percentage is good, even though I wish they took less and they worked harder to get good shots. We just watched a game against Detroit where it never really seemed to hurt them. Even when they were giving up the lead, it was like sloppiness, like turnovers. It wasn't because they were chucking, which I like. I thought specifically over these last 4 games that they've been cracking down a little bit. Obviously, Detroit didn't crack 100 yesterday. You saw Memphis barely get over 100. Did they?
Detroit cracked 100. Yeah, they got 112. They got 112, dude.
They did?
Yeah. It's 112.
Well, they didn't get them when they counted.
No, they didn't. But
thank you for correcting
128.
That would have looked like an ass. But the Celtics weren't allowing a lot of points when the game was actually being contended. It really was not. I mean, through like the first half, Detroit had what, 40 something, maybe
something
50?
like that. And in to play devil's advocate, the Detroit also just sucked. Like they were bad.
They did. They were horrible.
Easy
That's
shots.
what I said at the beginning of the show. I said I didn't even take the live bet because I said there's no way they're going to win this game because they're horrible. I did think in the first half that they might win just because the Celtics really weren't up by that much and Detroit was playing real bad. Like they were only up like 6 and Detroit was like throwing the ball off the backboard underneath the basket. Like they weren't even like they were just really bad. I was like, oh, the Celtics are going to lose this game. That's how I felt against Chicago when they really blew it in United Center because they came out and they just had everything going. But at the same time, I was like, well, they're still up like 19 points. Like this is the appropriate lead they should have for playing this well. And it didn't matter.
Yeah, no, you're right. And if it means anything, the Celtics are giving up the 17th, or excuse me, they are 17th in points allowed per game, meaning they give up the 13th most in the league, but they are 6th in plus minus. Like they're plus 4.5 per game on the season, which is behind only the Cavs, Suns, Bucks, Jazz, and Raptors. And that's because they score the 2nd most points per game. Who scores the most points per game, Sam? Hit me with it.
The Jazz.
Yes, sir, they do.
Jazz the wagon. Buried the Lakers yesterday. All right. Who doesn't love that? I mean,
Will Hardy, Joe Mazzulla, 18-6 on the season. How's that?
Dude, the Lakers are a dumpster fire. It's fantastic. It is so great.
They're terrible.
I'll tell you what, this Twitter thing kind of sucks.
Yeah, that Twitter's dying.
Because somebody made like a LeBron account and said like he's like requesting a trade. And like a bunch of people believed it. You had somebody make a Woj account today and tweet that
Adam
Kyrie was
Schefter.
released.
Yeah,
And like people are really believing it. Like they had like 16,000 likes on the Woj thing when I saw it. It's probably more now. I don't know if this is a political issue or not, but I like Twitter. It's really the only app I use for social. Please don't screw with it. And listen, if you know what you're doing and you're paying attention, you're not going to get fooled. You're not. I mean, I noticed the Woj thing. Like you just look at the handle. It's not that hard. But for the average person that's going through Twitter, they might get fooled, and it's really not good. There's a lot of misinformation out there. And this is me just talking about sports. You know, if you care about all the other stuff, I mean, I don't. Good for me.
Yeah, it's bad. I really hope it blows over eventually. I don't know.
Man.
How much it'll blow over, but it's tough. Twitter.
Tell you what, I went and I bought a lottery ticket the other day because it was at like no, I did not win. But it was at like almost $2 billion. And I go up to the thing, and it was my mom's birthday too. So I was going to get her a lottery ticket. I see 2 lottery tickets. And he said, "Can I have your ID?" And I was like, "Yeah, all right." Like this is me getting ID'd is a normal thing. But this kid at the register felt the need to explain to me why he was IDing me. He was like, "Well, you look kind of young." And I was like, "Oh yeah." He's like, "Did you just shave or something?" And I was like, in my head, I was like, "No. I've been trying to like grow a mustache for like 2 weeks, dude. Like the hell? I didn't just shave. You see this shit on my face? It's right here. I'm 24, dude. It is brutal. He had like a pube beard, and that's better than me.
That's very tough.
You know, I can't grow anything, man. I tried. I didn't win. The guy ridiculed me.
It's tough.
It's horrible.
That is tough. So what do you think? You were 17? You have to be 18 to buy a lottery ticket, right?
That's what I'm saying, dude. I'm 24. He didn't think I was old enough for a lottery ticket.
That is tough.
Look at this. If you're watching and see my sweet mustache, it's there.
It is there. I can vouch. But yeah, that's all I had for today. Is there anything
you can't
else
really see it.
It
is there. Yeah, man. I don't know. What are you gonna do? The kid at Stop and Shop ridicules you. You go about your day. You lose the lottery.
That's tough. I think that's all I got. I don't think there's anything else I have on my sheet. I think we covered it all.
No, I think we did a good job. I stuttered through this one. I did not do not a good show for me.
I've had stuff in my throat for the past 2 episodes, so I apologize.
I've had stuff in my throat for like a year and a half.
Me too.
I got sick last summer. I very well could have been COVID. Never tested. Sorry. And I just have had stuff in my throat ever since. I was sick for like 2 weeks. I actually had COVID. And I didn't have any lasting effects from when I tested. And I knew I had COVID. This was last year. I don't know. Sam's irresponsible. There's your moral today.
There you go. All right. Well, I think that'll do it for us. We'll have another episode probably later this weekend, potentially in between the games. We appreciate you guys for listening. Check us out on all the socials. I'm sure Sam will cover it though. So I'll throw it over to him.
Yeah, thank you very much for listening or watching. If you're watching, you're on YouTube. You're on How About Them Celtics Pod or Guy Boston Sports. If you are, you saw the sweet mustache there I was just talking about. But also make sure you subscribe, leave a like, a comment. I like the comments. Landon's always there. He's a good follower of the show, good loyal fan of Jack and I's and Tim. If you want more of us, you can follow us at How About Them C's. Or if you're listening, before I get to the handles, Sam, you don't know how to do this outro. You do it every time. You can follow us on whatever streaming service you listen to us on. Leave us a nice review if you'd like, maybe a nice comment or whatever goes with the review. You can follow the socials if you can't get enough of us or you want the shorts and you don't want to watch us for an hour. How About Them C's? TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, it's all there. The shorts will be there. They'll be on YouTube as well. People seem to like those. They usually do pretty well. If you want us individually, you can follow Jack at JackSmart He's doing all kinds of stuff, tweeting a lot during the games, putting out articles all across the board. And if you want to follow me, I do all that stuff just a lot less at Sam LaFrance NBA. That's our show for today.
Tic-tac-toe. Come on.